I'll leave. I think John's on working with last.
Okay. This is not bad. Make sure that if you're planning on speaking at all tonight, you've signed up on the sign-up sheet out in the entryway. Hello. John, what's this one? John.
He's driving by.
Okay. I'm gonna send you some questions to you. We gotta continue to have questions with our favorite. They're going like, no, they can do it. Well, the question is, can the city do anything, because they refuse to acknowledge that it says with an easement that they can put signs, and they're going, well, we can do whatever we do.
Oh, yeah.
The next one has no peace.
This is so slow.
Christmas. Those are wonderful. Is Chad not gonna be here? I guess not. Garrett would be here.
Yes, Garrett's online.
See the name.
Chad Boone.
At my age, your head's off today. Don't worry about it. I don't really know. So. You know, I was like to the hospital. So. Were you running number two? No, I'm running. Then people added things in, I go, I already booked tour. What are you doing? I said these people. These people. My map's great.
Below that.
Oh, I just funny. He's woozy. No, it's ginger. Oh. I will explain. Okay. Are you ready to go?
Yes.
Okay. 5:58, we have 2 minutes. Be sure you silence your phone. Unless you're a doctor or something. Obstetrician. Don's not here, is there? Okay. Is anyone else joining? No, and you
Oh, yeah, Jody.
you lied, didn't
I
you?
did. I told.
Jody down, and she's a lawyer.
Yes, she's a
Her, over us,
She's.
but she's temporary one. It's not been permanent yet.
They
but
haven't found anyone. They did interview, but they didn't.
yeah,
I don't think they
Decided
chose.
to do building search.
I think so.
dang, Peter.
Yeah.
I know, one more minute. Okay.
Right?
Breathe. Because you know me, once I get going, I don't give in, you gotta breathe. You gotta talk quickly. That's right. Oh, there's a planning commission meeting. All right. It's 6 o'clock. We call to order the Gearhart Planning Commission on Thursday, December 11th at 6 p.m. 5 members are here at location, and John is joining us from the internet, Zoom. And Garrett is there. Chad's not joining us today, and Angelina's here. Russ is asking for an excuse. He called me today. He had Mohs surgery, which I'm sure the older we get, we forgot to wear sunblock, so you didn't know about it. That doesn't need to be in the minutes, but just explain. So, but so he's fine. He just wasn't planning on doing this today because someone canceled an appointment, he could get it done. So he asked that he be excused. So do I have a motion to excuse Russ tonight? All right, Emerson has moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Eric, one second. Eric second. Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right, so Russ is excused and he just said he was taking some painkillers and that, and he had to drive to Portland, so it happens. All right, so we have the consent agenda. We have the minutes from October 9th, and Angelina gave us some adjusted, I think there was a spelling error, is what I saw, something, a typo.
One word was changed from commissioner to staff.
Right.
And then, John Misford was removed because he wasn't here.
Okay, all right. So, we have the minutes as fixed. Financial report from November 24th, and, we don't have any, we have correspondence about our public hearings, but nothing else. Do I have yes, ma'am?
I have one small question for the minute, one for correction, page 2, under public hearings, it says none. We had public hearings.
I did put them. Oh, so remove none.
Mr. Reed, yeah.
Okay.
But you just got it carried there. I don't. Oh, okay. Just remove none. You were hoping, Reed. So, do I have a motion to accept the consent agenda as presented with the corrections to the minutes? Eric is moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, Jennifer's second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say nay. All right, moving on. Reports from the staff. Angelina, do you have anything to report today?
No.
Nothing to report. Garrett, do you have anything to report to us?
Sure. So a few minor updates. One is that in January, we're trying to have Rhiannon Bazor from DLCD, who is their coastal shoreland specialist and Goal 18 specialist, come and speak to Planning Commission and present on some new dune hazard data that they have produced in collaboration with the State Department of Geology and Mineral Industries, that they hope local governments all along the Oregon coast will at some point start using to implement their Goal 18 elements. They've also produced a model Goal 18 zoning ordinance chapter for local governments to consider using. And we thought that this would be a timely topic and at least educational and potentially could inform some action on the part of Gearhart in reviewing our Goal 18. So just want to let you know that that's something that's we're trying to get scheduled for the new year. City Council adopted with a second reading last week the new floodplain development ordinance amendments that implement the Endangered Species Act pre-implementation compliance measures. So those are going into effect, and we'll keep an eye on any updates from FEMA on what they want us to do, other than what they've said so far. There's been some public discussion, some social media activity, a lot of calls to City Hall, calls to DLCD, about a fence that was built west of the end of 13th Street. And I just wanted to acknowledge that this is a conversation that's happening in the public right now. Staff started getting calls about this a few weeks ago, and so did DLCD. And we did some basic research, and we still are looking into this issue as we learn more information and get comments and calls about it from the public. So I wanted to at least let you know that a fence was built west of 13th Street's end. Our zoning ordinance does not prohibit fences in that area, like that one. Our review of plats and easements and surveys that are readily available to us all indicate that a private property owner owns the property upon which the fence was built. And our comprehensive plan does not identify the location as a Goal 17 public access site. It is noted in our comprehensive plan that the site is used by the public, but it is distinguished from other sites that are bona fide public access sites. And the site is not included on the state of Oregon's inventory of public access sites. This is the research that we've completed so far in collaboration with DLCD. But we're also looking into some several decades old property transfers and deeds that conceivably could make it so that that site at some point was actually supposed to be owned by the city. And again, these are old documents, and we're still trying to understand it. And we absolutely want to understand if there's been an issue there. But at this point, we just wanted to update you because we know you've received some communication about this, that at least in our zoning ordinance, there's not a mechanism to require a permit for that. And by all measures that we typically use to determine whether a site is owned by someone, it appears to be owned by a private property owner, without any kind of like publicly owned connection between the street network and the beach. But we'll provide additional updates as we continue to do our research on it. And then we're going to talk about pickleball after the hearing, and that's it from me. But I'm happy to answer any questions about any of those topics or anything else that you'd like me to speak to.
Do any of the commissioners have questions for Garrett? No, John?
Okay, you're good for now, Garrett.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you.
Commissioners, do you have anything that you would like to share with us tonight? Anything? Okay. Visitors' comments. This is the time for visitors to make comments if they like about something that is not on our agenda tonight. Does anyone have something that's been sitting on their mind and they'd like to share with us? Okay, I'm sorry. All right, we're going to move on into the public hearing. I will open the public hearing on file 25-10CU/B, conditional use and variance request for property. Oh, I'm sorry. I forgot. Scott. I'm supposed to ask does our land use attorney have anything that she wanted to share tonight?
Nothing for me, and just as a
Okay.
formal introduction, my name is Jody, and I'm with BEH Law.
Okay, all right, thank you. I'm sorry. I forget about Zoom and that. I'm sorry. We're gonna back up. We're gonna go again. So file 25-10 CU/B. Conditional use and variance request for property located at 1157 North Marion Avenue, further described as Assessor's Plat 610000000100. The request is to add one 4-bedroom suite to an existing hotel conditional use in the resort commercial C-2 zone and to provide up to 10 fewer parking spaces than required. I'm required to read a disclosure statement. All persons testifying shall be deemed parties to the application and must provide their name and full mailing address if they wish to be notified of the decision, continuances, appeals, or other procedural actions required by the code. The city zoning code specifies applicable criteria to be relied upon in making a decision. Those criteria and findings of fact are in the city staff report. Public testimony should be limited to those criteria and findings of fact or to other city or state land use standards that the person testifying believes apply to proposed land use action. Failure to raise an issue in person or in writing with sufficient detail to afford the hearing body and the parties to the hearing an opportunity to respond to that issue precludes appeal to the city council or land use board of appeals, or to seek damages in circuit court due to a condition of approval. Before conclusion of the initial evidentiary hearing, any participant may ask the Planning Commission for an opportunity to present additional relevant evidence, arguments, or testimony that is within the scope of the hearing. The hearings body shall grant the request by scheduling a date to finish the hearing, a continuance, to a time and date certain, or by leaving the record open for additional evidence, argument, or testimony pursuant to ORS 197.763(6)A through E. You need to ask the commissioners, do you have any, you need to declare a conflict of interest in ex parte contact or personal bias.
I visited the site.
You visited the site? Did Eric visit?
Yes.
Emerson?
Yes.
I did. John, did you visit the site?
I've been to the site many times, but not in the last couple weeks.
Okay, but you are familiar with it.
Yep.
All right. Okay, I need to ask the audience if there are any challenges to the commission's ability to make an impartial decision. Seeing none, I will move on. Garrett, it's time for your staff report.
All right, thank you. So this is a conditional use request that we required because hotels are conditional uses in the C2 zone. So when you expand a hotel use, you're supposed to get a new or effectively revised conditional use permit where we review all of the findings and criteria for approving one and make sure that they are still okay for the expanded conditional use. A conditional use was granted in 2011 for the hotel in the main building at McMenamins for 21 rooms. So it's been about 15 years. And another conditional use was granted in 2017 to expand hotel use in the Golf Barn building, I think it's called, which is closer to Marion Avenue and a little bit to the north of the main building. And in 2017, those 21 rooms weren't really discussed. It was, there was the record in 2017 was that there's 18 hotel rooms, and we're approving some more over here in this other building. Also, typically conditional uses only are effective if you don't exercise them for up to a couple of years. So, it's been 15 years. It seemed appropriate to have this go to the Planning Commission for a check-in and a new conditional use permit. So just wanted to establish that. There's no special criteria for hotel uses as a conditional use, but we have our standard conditional use criteria that I'll review. The main issues that have come up so far in reviewing this are with parking. And staff, even at the beginning, when initially reviewing the application, had trouble understanding the parking calculations from the applicant. And so we went ahead and right away noticed a hearing for a parking variance as well. And we were arguably rushing it, and perhaps we shouldn't have done that, but we're having the conversation tonight, and a continuance is on the table if you want to keep the conversation going in January, to consider all of these issues and give the public a chance to consider them further. So I'm going to start reviewing some more of the details from the staff report. Pages 3 and 4 include maps that show you sort of the particular area of the building where the changes of use are occurring. There's also building plans that are included in the packet. It's important to note that the hotel expansion is replacing existing uses within that building, particularly office use. So it's not an expansion of the building vertically or horizontally. It's an interior conversion, as far as I know. There's nothing extra going on outside or no additions outside. Yeah, so let's start going through some of the details here, starting on page 4 with Article 4, transportation requirements. Staff didn't identify issues or additional requirements that the applicants need to meet regarding the transportation requirements of Article 4. So traffic impact analysis isn't required for a change of use of this scope. There's no changes to access being proposed, etc. Where we'll start having some more in-depth discussion is on bicycle parking. Bicycle parking in Gearhart zoning ordinance is generally specified as a number of bike spaces that are required based on the number of vehicle spaces that are required. So there's some questions in the staff report starting at the top of, the bottom of page 5 and the top of page 6 about how we're going to calculate the bicycle parking requirement. And I think that this discussion basically needs to be deferred until after we talk about what the vehicle parking requirement is, because what I've asked you all to consider is whether we should consider this a commercial use or an other use for the purpose of bicycle parking. But in both cases, the number of bike spaces is going to be based on the number of required vehicle spaces. And we have some questions about the number of required vehicle spaces. So let's move on to that. Section 6.060, off-street parking and loading standards, on page 6 of the staff report. Basically describes the applicant's original calculation of what they proposed to be the required parking. Since then, we've received, we had questions about that way of doing it. There's questions about parking impacts on neighboring properties, and the applicant has some new information that I think they'd like to share. They've shared with staff, and that honestly, we haven't had time to completely process all of the communication, but I think they want to share it with you tonight, on what they think the required parking calculation is. And overall, the argument is going to be that they have enough parking to meet the minimum required parking specified in Article 6 of our code. There's interpretations that need to be made on how different parts of the building are assigned to different uses in terms of square footage. Is some office space that has a desk for a manager of the restaurant office, or is that restaurant? Is the how do you count the stairwells? How do you count the lobby? Things like that. And the applicant has a proposal they've been working on in recent days to discuss that further. The staff report concludes in this section that basically, if we don't, that this seems okay with us, this original parking calculation, but given the testimony we've received that allegedly users of this site are using the parking lot across the street, and that there's new information the applicant wants to present, I think that just sort of a fresh look at the parking situation is warranted based on what you hear in testimony and what you hear from the applicant. And that also, I think, points to it being reasonable to continue the hearing to January, for you all to continue that, consider that information thoroughly, for members of the public to consider what the applicant has to say tonight and respond to it. So if you want to continue the hearing after hearing more, that would be a reasonable thing to do. In terms of, just to set the stage a little more for the parking discussion, the applicant wanted to originally calculate the parking requirement based on the minimum required parking from the 2017 conditional use permit. And that could be a reasonable way of doing it. It's also reasonable if the city wants to require them to identify each use that is presently on site and that is proposed under this permit, and create a fresh parking count of what's required based on what's actually here right now. Some things could have changed between 2017 and now that weren't reviewed by the city, even though they're supposed to be. Sometimes these things happen. So the applicant has information on that for us to consider. And I feel like I need more time to consider it, and I imagine you will too. But in terms of the conditional use review criteria, these are our basic criteria that we consider for all conditional uses. Is the proposal consistent with the policies of the comprehensive plan? Staff didn't identify issues that would lead to a recommendation of denial here. There are some ongoing reporting issues that DEQ staff said the applicant has, and DEQ needs to be notified of the change of use. And we thought that could be addressed through a condition of approval. So just wanted to note that's the one thing that potentially stood out in our review of comprehensive plan policies. There are policies in the beginning of the comprehensive plan that discourage, that broadly speaking, seem to discourage development that is oriented to tourism. But when you read the policies, and the staff report gets into this a little bit more, they're really aimed at preventing rezones to rezones from residential land to commercial land, or from any zoning to commercial zoning, or for and preventing like the development and support of major tourist destination facilities, which it's a bit of a judgment call, but the addition of one room didn't seem to staff to be supporting the development of a major tourist destination facility. Moving on to the other conditional use review criteria. So after we review the policies of the comprehensive plan, there's the criteria about whether a demand exists for the use at the proposed location. And staff take the developer, the applicant's willingness to invest in this as an indication of demand. We also consider whether there's been any similar developments recently that have failed, apparently as as a result of there being a lack of demand, and that doesn't seem to have happened. We don't have any other information to suggest that there's not demand, so this criteria is okay, it seems. Criteria 3, this is one that needs to be considered, I think, in more depth. The location, size, design, and operating characteristics of the proposed use are such that the development will have a minimum impact on surrounding properties. So we have our relatively objective parking criteria in Article 6. But if there's impacts from parking on neighboring properties, this criteria is in play for you to consider whether anything extra should be done to prevent, for example, users of McMenamins and the golf course from going and parking across the street. Is there anything that can be done, even if they meet the minimum parking requirement? Is there anything we can do or that the applicant should be doing to minimize impacts on surrounding properties? So something to consider. Criteria 4, the use will not generate excessive traffic when compared to traffic generated by uses permitted. Staff reviewed the transportation system plan, technical report, and the traffic impact analysis that was submitted with the conditional use permit in 2017 to add a bunch of hotel rooms. And we didn't identify issues with traffic. And it seems that, they're converting an interior area of the building from office to a 4-bedroom suite. So traffic was not identified as a concern, and this criteria is okay in our view. Public facilities and services are adequate to accommodate the proposed use is criteria number 5. We didn't receive any comments from our city staff that there's concern about public utilities and services for supporting the use. So that criteria seems to be okay. Physical characteristics of the site in terms of topography, soils, and other pertinent considerations. This is criteria 6. We don't see any issues here. There's no wetlands or floodplains or soils issues. And again, they're doing an interior conversion. And then criteria number 7 is that the site has adequate area to accommodate the proposed use. The site layout has appropriate access points, drives, parking areas, loading areas, storage facilities, setbacks, buffers, etc. So this is another one. Conditional use criterions 3 and 7, I think, are the ones where, again, like parking comes up in my mind for us to consider, and for you to consider testimony and what the applicant has to say about those things. Again, so staff's view of the proposal originally after we reviewed it was that, maybe this seems like it could meet all the criteria. They're just changing some interior space to a 4-bedroom suite and a little bit of retail use. We need to figure out the parking situation. We received 3 items of written testimony. One of them wasn't addressed in the staff report, and I would say it was the one that most directly spoke to the approval criteria. And that was from, let me see here. This is testimony that's in your packet, but it was submitted after the staff report was done, from Bruce and Suzanne Thiel, or Thiel. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing. And they identified that they questioned the parking calculation and think that you guys should dig into that and that it should be looked at carefully. They also identified that they think that McMenamins users are parking across the street at the condo parking lot. They questioned the process of how we're reviewing the permit. But so that's some testimony for you guys to consider and make sure that you take a look at it. And after receiving this, it's like, okay, so there's people that are concerned and saying that there's parking going on across the street at the condo building. I think it's reasonable to have an in-depth discussion about parking. We need a detailed parking site plan. We asked the applicant to work more on their parking calculation, and they've been working on that, and you'll get to hear from them. And again, I don't think that based on what I know now and what I've at least been able to process and think about, leads to a recommendation for an approval. I think that a continuation is probably what I would like to see, because I want to hear from everybody and then have some time to think about it and write you an updated report after considering it. But I'll conclude with that, and I'm available for questions as the meeting goes on.
Okay. Are there any questions for Garrett at this point? No? John? No?
No.
All right, good enough. Thank you, Garrett. It is now time for the applicant to make their report. And I would ask to give your full name and your mailing address, please. And you can talk as long as you want to, because I don't put a time limit on that.
We have applicants in the ether out here too, or part of the applicants. Are the Zoom people invited, or is there a different?
The Zoom people are invited, but I can't listen to two people at one time. Are you going to speak, Jason?
I'll go first, George.
Okay.
Okay. That's fine.
I know most of you in the room, for those that I
Your
don't know.
name
My
and
name is
address.
Jason Bangill, 1327 Bailey
She's
Lane.
got to write it down. Don't move, talk too
Sorry.
fast.
Little words.
You're good.
Got it. Okay. I know most of you in the room, for those who don't, my name is Jason Bangill, General Manager, Gilbert Golf Links.
Stop this.
Okay.
You're not your audience, we are.
I do this once every 14 years, so.
Okay. So you're done. That's great.
Okay. I take my role in this process to be as honest as I can and as helpful as I can. What I've done the last couple of days is try to address some of the issues that Garrett brought up, specifically the parking and the DEQ requirements. The packet that I gave you, which is double-sided, I apologize for that. That was not my intention. It's the way I put it. That was walking the site to come up with the number of parking spots that we have, and then the ones that could be treated as overflow down at the maintenance building, which is that one there. Giving us a total of 133 parking spots. I have some comments about the DEQ requirements as well, and some comments on the bike spots, and I can either just tell you those or.
This is your chance
Okay.
to say whatever you want.
Okay, so the easy one first, as far as the bike spots, my note says that we have a zillion spots for bike spots. There's a lot of room for bike spots. My calculations, there's room for 3 more of the bike rack that we currently have in the southwest corner of the building. There's room for 2 more of those right beside those. There are room for more of the racks to the north of the deck, which is on the east side of the building. There's room for more south side of the deck. So I don't know the number that we need, but there's room for plenty, in my opinion. So that's the bike racks. The DEQ requirements, I'll read you a quote if that's okay. This is from EMS, which is a company that we use to monitor and service our septic drain fields. This is from Dylan Walters, who's the on-site maintenance tech. I'll just paraphrase. It says, based on flow data we've retrieved over the last few years, it appears that we have been consistently between 35 and 63% for the main treatment system for the max design flow of 49-45 gallons per day. Depending on the design of the suite addition, it could be feasible to tie into the main treatment system. We will need more details on the layout so we can more accurately gauge additional flow to the system. The way I read that and the way when we discuss this, it seems like there's a lot of room, and one 4-bedroom suite should impact the septic system at a minimum. So that was positive. And then in terms of the parking, yeah, I already told you my numbers there, and you have the information in front of me. If I could introduce George Signori, who's the principal architect at Anchor Moisen, after he introduces himself. He will have some more technical data when it comes to parking.
Okay, so that's what you've got to say?
That's what I like to say.
Okay, so his name is George?
George.
Okay, George, if you please state your name and your address for the record before you give your testimony.
Certainly. George Signori, 5405 Northeast Tillamook Street. I'm in Portland, 97213.
You're good.
Okay,
All righty. Thank you. Yes, I'm with Ankrum Moyson Architects. I worked on the 2011 conditional use, the 2017 conditional use, and now this one. I know Zoom kind of makes you look a lot younger, so, but I was around back in 2011. For the parking, the approach we took, which I think is what's in the staff report, because early on, the 2011, there was some variances for the parking. 2017, there was another series of calculations. And that 2017 findings were that 125 spaces were required. The initial approach we took was, as Garrett suggested, just simply taking the office space that was being vacated. It's currently vacated, they're gone now. Calculating the amount of cars needed for that as an office space, and that calculation is in the zoning code. And then that number of cars against the number of cars required for turning this into a golf suite. That was the simplest way to approach it. The uses that were in that space versus the uses that are proposed for that space. And we came up with a actual surplus. We needed 7 fewer cars. So I believe that's the math that we were proposing as the simplest way to understand how we're approaching the parking.
okay, anything else?
Not at this point.
Okay, so I had a question for you on that particular calculation. You had 11 parking spaces that were evidently designated for office employees, right? So
That's
now
correct.
you're requesting to replace that with one rental suite, but it's got 4 bedrooms, which means you would need at least 1 parking space for each of those bedrooms, right? Reasonably. Reasonably.
That's reasonable, but that's not how the zoning
Okay.
code is written.
Okay, but when we have vacation rentals, we do it by the number of bedrooms, not that it's per house. Okay, so
The
that's the
zone-
way,
Sorry.
but that's the way I'm looking at it. All right. So
Mhm.
I'm thinking it would be reasonable. If there was a family coming down, or I think 8 golfers is what I thought was coming, and each of them had to drive their own vehicle. But to allow only 1.5 parking spaces, and you rounded it up to 2 for a 4-bedroom suite. Is that what you did?
That's exactly what I did. And it was
Okay,
with
Okay.
interpreting the zoning code as
Okay.
describing an accommodation.
okay. So you're saying 2 vehicles could carry these 8 people that might stay in that suite?
That's correct.
Gotcha. That's my only question. Does anyone else have questions for George or Jason?
I have one.
Okay, Emerson?
What's your occupancy? Yeah,
You can shrink it back down, but I wanted to see you in this testimony.
that would be a question from the accountants because they run the hotel, but I'm not sure, but I would be guessing.
seems to me that a hotel should be treated differently than, say, an apartment building. Because your occupancy rate isn't 100%. You're not gonna need necessarily the number of parking spaces that's owned by require.
Right.
There might be some types of, or there might be the Goonies weekend where you would never have.
Or in it, right. Yeah, so to give them an educated guess, I would say not as many in the winter and pretty darn full in the summer. Right, whatever that percentage is, and I can certainly find out from McMenamin's if that's helpful, but I agree, not probably 50% in the winter and north of 80% in the summer, close to 100.
Yes, Eric.
So, these documents that we now have, does this represent a whole inventory of what parking currently have?
Yes,
And so by the hotel and the annex itself, you have 54 spaces on the south side and 49 spaces on the north side.
and 6 on the west.
6
on the street. No, not on the street, they're right in front of the building.
Yeah.
Something, yeah, there you go.
There, and 6.
Yeah.
Okay, so, 55 plus 54, so there's 99 spaces. And
109.
109,
one, so
Yeah, so
sorry, 109.
54 plus the 6 gives you 60.
And then you're counting, your statement is that you actually have 133 because of the overflow at the main shed.
Overflow or employee or just available parking at the maintenance building, yeah.
And so these configurations are different than what was in the plans that we got. Is that right, George? For example, the configuration in these plans, in the site plan, has different numbers. Even the configuration to the north of the annex is even, it's set up differently in this picture with less spaces. So we should just kind of disregard what was in that plan and this and what you've given us tonight supersedes that.
That's correct. And we do have, that's one of the documents that Garrett was mentioning. We do have updated site plans that
Right.
more accurately represent the parking spaces that are there.
Okay. Thanks. And just to clarify, Jenny, the question that you were asking
Yes,
about the suite of 4 rooms.
yeah,
1.5 parking places per room, so they were counting 6 places.
no, it was 1.5 per suite. He's saying they had 11 spaces.
Yeah,
They're giving us back a net 7. So that's 2 spaces for the gift shop,
right.
1.5 rounded up to 2. So 2 spots for the suite.
I read it differently on page 6.
That's on the information from
Staff report.
for the staff report.
Right, so I'm misunderstanding.
No, that's on the letter from Mr. Signori, and that's how he figures it. The letter that you had attached to the application.
Oh. That's so. Right. Oh, so that is different than what was in the staff report. Yes.
This is my.
One guest room at 1.5 space rather than 4 guest rooms, each at 1.
That's my problem.
That came from that, because that's obviously different than what was in the staff.
That's
report.
my problem.
Got it. Thank you.
Okay,
Okay.
all right,
I'm glad I brought that up.
Okay.
I wasn't understanding.
all right. Don, did you have something to say?
Well, I just would like to check the math on that. So, Jason or George, your letter says there are 128 off-street parking spaces, correct? It says that. And Jenny, I think if you're saying you need more than 2 cars for a 4-bedroom suite, I think in theory, that's probably accurate. I would say maybe, let's say that should be 4 cars. You know, I don't know if you've ever been on a golf trip, but you would take 8 cars and put 2 people that aren't driving the same car in the same bed. So let's just say 4 cars. So basically what that does is add simply 2 parking spots to the required number, which would be, make it 127. According to, if you, I'm just going on your paradigm, which is actually still 1 less than what is required, or what they do have.
Right,
So,
I just thought it was,
yeah.
I haven't been on a golf trip, but I've been on other trips. Okay, any other
So,
questions?
yeah.
Let me just ask, why does this letter say there are currently 128 off-street parking spaces when we're, currently there are 133?
Because I believe you counted them differently, is that correct?
Yeah, I think in the last few days, George and I have been visiting and revisiting this, and this was the most recent. Yeah, that's the most recent.
Okay, so it really is 133.
Okay, okay. Did you have any questions?
I had,
Yes.
and George had said that he came to you said you came to the number of 11 spaces for the vacated office space based on the zoning code. So that was based on a formula rather on the actual number of employees that used to work in that space?
If you're muted, you're muted.
You know, I've been doing Zoom meetings only since the pandemic. Forgive me. The zoning code has 2 numbers. One is based on square footage of office space, and then I believe it's 1 parking space per employee. So I believe it's 400 square feet. So you take the overall square footage, divide it by 400, that gives you a number, and then you add the number of employees as well.
That's the answer.
Okay.
That makes sense? Not really.
And I was curious because that was one of the points that had been made a comment of, is that there were not that many employees using that space, and to have counted 11 people was not accurate based on the actual usage. And so I just wanted to know how it was done. So this was a formula.
It was a formula, and I think, Jason, I think you had counted 7 employees in there. So I think if you divide by 400, you get the 4, and then plus the number of employees.
Yeah, that's right. And I confirmed with Paul Tice, who you all probably know at Pure Evansy, and his quote was there were 5 to 8 employees in the office, depending on the time of year. And I think at the time in 2017, I think at the time it was 7 plus the 4, which is 11.
John, did you have any questions?
I did. I think it's probably been answered, but I'm not sure I heard it very clearly. So if I could just ask for a clarification. The number of spaces shown on the document that we were given today is 109. And yet there's a statement that there's 133 or maybe 128 or something. There's something that has been said that I'm missing about how you get from 109 to 133. Could someone just say that again clearly?
Sure, John. There's one page that you might be missing, and it's the maintenance building. So there's a north lot, south lot, and the west side of the building, and then there's the maintenance building, which has an additional, how many? 24?
Yeah, 24.
An additional 24, which gets you to the 133.
Okay, so that's not on the document we were given.
It
It
is.
might be on the back side, John.
Yeah, it's a,
John, I emailed it over at the start of the meeting.
Yeah, I'm looking. Oh, is that? Oh, I see. That's the other picture.
Yeah.
That is in a very different format. It's
Yeah.
looks like an aerial photo almost. I see it now. Okay, good. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions, John?
Nope.
Okay, I have a question for you, Jason. You're saying you've got this overflow area. How many people actually use that?
Well, a lot of our employees in the maintenance building.
Your employees use it?
Yep.
How many employees?
Well, there's 18 at max.
Okay.
Between the golf department and the maintenance department.
Okay,
And then in the summer, so 100% of the maintenance employees would use that
okay,
parking lot. And then in the summer, when we're really busy, some of the golf employees, the ones that work in the push up, park down there and either walk or take the shuttle.
okay. So reasonably, we couldn't count those places during the summer. Because they're most likely filled.
No, I'm sorry, I misled you. So of the 18 employees we have, about half of them are at the maintenance building and half are in the golf department, and they don't all work every day.
Okay.
So in the maintenance department, okay, I see what you're saying. In there's probably 4, 5, or 6 on any given day that are in the maintenance department. There's some days where there's only 2. And then when the weather's like it is this week, not one of the golf employees is going to park down there and walk to the pro shop. But in the summer, when we're busy, then they will.
We have to look at it at your peak time.
Yeah,
So
okay,
that's
so
why I'm
at a
asking
peak
the
time, we
question.
still wouldn't have 18 employees working on any given day. Several will have the day off.
Okay.
I understand what you're saying.
And how far would it be for the people to walk from there, say to your hotel, your main hotel?
So the first hole is 340 yards long.
Not the hole, the
No.
hotel.
I'm getting to my answer. I'm showing you my work in my head here. First hole is 340 yards, so add another 100 to get around
Quarter
that. Quarter mile.
Quarter of a mile.
Is that one?
440 yards.
I'm Canadian metric.
Yeah.
Okay, we can do the meters too, but, so that's, you would agree that's a bit of a distance.
Which is why we have a shuttle.
Nice. Oh, you have a shuttle? Okay, all right,
So.
all right. Yes, Derek.
At peak time in the summer, roughly speaking, how many spots are being used up at the main buying fields, the golf course? Half?
No, less than half, 5 or 6, the maintenance guys and a few from the pro shop.
So,
so-
I meant over, less than half your team, not the 33.
Oh,
Or not the
24.
24.
Correct, yeah.
So you've got 8, 9 spots used up by employees over there.
At the most, yeah.
At the most,
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Do either you or George have anything more to add? No?
Just a quick clarification
Yeah.
on the zoning code language,
Mhm.
because I think that's kind of the only thing we have to work from. So parking spaces on the property, that's the requirement, off street. And the other one is the language of it isn't for hotels. It's not for hotel rooms. It's not for beds. It's per accommodation. And this is to be rented out as a single accommodation with 4 bedrooms in it. So that's real. I mean, I realize it maybe doesn't, pass muster with logic, but that's the zoning code. So that's the reason that we use that number. Certainly if we want to, as somebody suggested, we still have a surplus, even if we counted them as 4 separate rooms and applied the 1.5 per room. But I guess that may be the bigger question, and Garrett was getting at that. If that method of calculating parking is understandable and appropriate, to just say what the space was before, take those parking numbers out and add back in what the space is going to be used for now, then we can, with a more limited scope, we can redo math as you see fit.
All right, thank you. One more question, please. Your bike racks, would those be in existing parking places or those are not parking spaces? If you put more bike.
Oh, would they be in part? No.
Okay, that's, I wasn't sure about that. All right, thank you for the applicant. It is now time to hear from proponents, opponents, and those with neutral comments. I have people listed here. Okay, Jason, you're there. Jeff Daggett.
That's me.
Okay.
Sorry, I thought we had to sign in again, so.
Okay, you don't have anything to say. Okay, no, that's just fine. David, I'm sorry, David, I can't read your last name.
I was the same thought as.
Okay,
we had
do you have
sign
anything
in.
to say?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay, and I have Carlin Graham.
Nothing to say.
Nothing to say. I am so glad you came. Nothing to say. Do we have anyone in our audience that wants to say anything? No, all right. So I assume no one wants to say anything for, against, or neutral. Is that correct? Well,
There's someone online, just to let you know, to check with.
right, but Angelina checked and
There's no hands.
no hands, nothing indicated. All right. So the applicants have nothing to rebut. They've given us their testimony. Therefore, I'm going to close the public hearing. Now is the time that we will discuss amongst ourselves. If we have any questions, we may still have some questions. So we'll go from there. So we've heard what Garrett has said. And I think he kind of indicated he wanted to do a little more studying. Is that correct, Garrett?
You know, I think it's if you want more time, then I think that's reasonable. But if you feel comfortable moving ahead tonight, I can work with you on that and write up final findings that reflect our discussion. I think that's just some key points that we need in deliberation are just a finding on what the required parking count is, what the count of parking existing is, and what the implication for bike parking is, whether it's a 1-to-5 or 1-to-10 ratio. And yeah, I think that's okay. If I wasn't sure what kind of testimony we'd be getting tonight, but if you want to move ahead with the decision, that's fine.
Okay, all right, thank you. So, Dawn?
Madam Chairwoman, I think the issue of this, per the calculations and per the site visits, to me, it seems that they meet the required number of parking spaces. I did contact also Paul Tice today, who's the manager for Here by the Sea, and asked him how many parking spaces he has. And we had a rough count, that entire complex, which includes Here by the Sea, the golf course, the McMinimans, and public parking on Marion, it roughly is about 345 parking spots. And I know in the summer, especially let's say 4th of July or Goonies weekend, as people have described some things, that is maybe not enough. It's overflow for sure. But I'd say general use for locals and visitors that will suffice by far. I've parked in all of those parking lots and on the street. And remember, about a year ago, we had those rocks removed that were blocking public parking and or parking for condo owners and that kind of stuff. So in my mind, that's a lot of parking, and I don't really want to pour any more asphalt and impervious surfaces in this area, especially if we get this. We know the kind of damage that does. I do recognize the condo owners specifically having difficulties with non-condo owners using their parking lot. Also guilty of that. However, to me, that seems more of an enforcement issue between the Gear by the Sea, the McMenamins and the golf lanes, as far as ensuring that their people use the proper parking lot. And probably that's mostly an educational type of thing. But otherwise, adding one hotel room in the existing building, I don't have any problem with that.
Thank you. Commissioner Eric.
Yeah, I feel like I should say something, but I'm kind of confused, so I don't quite know where to start.
If you want me to come back to you, I will.
Yeah, I think I can figure it out. First off, I'd like to thank you for contacting the manager, Mr. Bowman, of your FLC.
Manager,
Manager, that was a good idea. Can I ask more about that conversation then?
Yes.
Did this man say?
Paul Tice.
So, did he give any clues to, yeah, this is a big problem, those hotel and golfers are always filling up our spaces, or there's no real comment like that?
To be fair, Paul's comment was, I don't really want to ruffle two feathers. He wants to sit in the middle of the fence because he's a representative of the condo owners. But he also is, he would say, sympathetic to what the golf course is trying to do. As you guys probably all know, that they used to be in the sand trap building or the Kelly House, whatever you want to call it, and then have built an office across the street. That is a lot for him and the staff. He said a lot easier adjustment and less confusing in that way, even though they did have to take up some of their own parking spaces for that. But he didn't relay that was a problem, but he did say he was getting a lot of phone calls and stuff like that. So he also recognized that sometimes his clientele and golf course clientele are the same people. So where do they park? You know, they get parking both lots. I mean, so he did not relate to me that it was a problem.
Jason, do you get complaints from the condo people that too many McMillan's or golf course users are encroaching on their parking?
Just in the last 3 days.
During summer,
No,
last summer,
no, it's not.
that doesn't happen much.
No, and I think it is blurred a little bit, but to be perfectly honest, no, I get plenty of complaints, but not about this. But not about parking, I think. That's, yeah.
Makes me wonder if the condo can't use some signage to say condo parking only.
They do have that.
They do have.
And I haven't done much research, but I know there's one on the east side that does say, it doesn't say Gear by the Sea, it says Pacific View parking only.
But that's the other.
Well,
they're all kind of under the same umbrella.
Right.
Yeah, and I thought about that too, and I know that there are one potential condition or several conditions could be, what could we do to help? I don't know that additional signage in our parking lot would help. You know, if we had a sign that said golf course or Gearhart Hotel parking only.
But yeah, but that isn't even the problem because those folks aren't coming over.
Well, that's what I'm saying. If somebody comes down to go clamming and they decide to park in our parking lot, and
sure.
they see that they're not allowed to, then they may go to the condos to park there. So I don't.
Right.
I don't think that would happen, but that is the only sign that I've seen at Gearhart by the Sea as well. And I haven't done more research. Do you know, or does anyone know there are more signs in the parking lots to say? I don't know, but I know there's one.
So I have a question for Garrett. Have we established from the zoning codes and everything that 125 spaces was the actual original amount that we're working from, or did that come from the 2017 conditional use permit? And that's
Yeah,
how-
125 spaces is what was required by the 2017
Okay,
permit. And then I think where I had questions was, what do you do with your calculation after that? In my
Right.
mind, I'm thinking, okay, if you're going to base it on 2017 on that
Right.
permit, you need to account for changes that have happened since 2017
right.
through this permit, not changes that are happening from today to the issuance of this permit.
Right. Did
So
you,
I looked at that permit and I didn't see that office, I didn't see that there was any parking required for office uses in that permit. And so I thought, well, should we be subtracting office spaces? On some level, just going back to when we received this application, again, like some of you have referred to, this is one hotel room or four, depending on how you want to count it. It's four rooms, right? It's an interior conversion. It's not like a new hotel. So I don't want to like blow it out of proportion, but I also just want a principled decision. And yeah, I mean, they have 130, it sounded like 100, you're saying you have 133 spaces now? So, if there was 125 required in 2017 and 6 more required for 1.5 for each room, and then 2 for the retail space. So you're looking at 125 plus 8 is 133. There you go. You're at 133. I don't know if we need to say that 122 is the minimum required parking, or that some lesser number than that by subtracting office uses as the minimum required parking. But that's just me. If you want to use 2017 as the baseline, then you should look at what was included in that count and count any changes from that. I think there's other ways of counting just based on let's just look at the square footage of everything that's there right now. And I think you get even lower, you get a lower number than using 2017 as the baseline from what my preliminary look at Jason and George's work. So I don't think that results in some kind of, if you just look at all the uses there right now, I don't think you're gonna, the result isn't like, oh, you need 150 parking spaces. It's actually less probably. So that's why I say if you think this is reasonable, it's 4 rooms in 1 suite. I'm also okay with moving forward with it, but I don't want you to feel rushed. There's a lot of new information in the day to 2 days before the planning commission meeting. That's not a conventional way of doing this, right? Usually we like to have it all sorted out ahead of time. So it's up to you.
do you think that further that conversation with Garrett?
Pardon?
May I further that with Garrett?
Yes, yes.
Garrett, on page 6, in the section 6.060, the last paragraph, alternatively, the plan commission may require such a bottom-up count of required and existing parking count. I'm not quite sure what you meant. Did you mean kind of just start from scratch? Is that what you mean by bottom-up count? Just
Yeah,
start over
yeah.
and look at what the build, just like you were just saying a moment ago. Look at what the building uses are now and just create a new count from this point forward. Is that what you meant?
Exactly. Yeah, and you'd be honoring the probably be honoring the variance that was approved previously that allowed only 1 space per hotel room for up to 18 to 21 rooms. But yeah, you look at, let's count the hotel rooms. Let's count the number of golf holes. Let's count the square footage of the restaurant. If there's any office that's not just supporting those primary uses, let's count that as a separate use. But if it's all just any commercial use, typically will have some office for some kind of employee that has to do some desk work. You don't need to count that as an office use.
You didn't do that, did you?
I didn't know. I wasn't clear enough on the square footages to even do it. No, based on the plans. So I I did not do that myself, no.
Okay, but just a moment ago, while you were describing the alternatives, you kind of were thinking out loud. I think you were kind of doing a back of the envelope kind of calculation out loud about how you came to 125.
120. No, so 125 was established as the minimum required parking, as the required parking in 2017. And the findings in 2017 included a small table with a breakdown of how they got to 125.
Okay.
Yeah.
And could we use that small table from 2017 as a way to start a round up count for now? Or that wouldn't be the place to start?
Yeah, you could use that table, and then you need the applicant to tell you what's changed since 2017 in each of the rows of the table.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay,
I think
Emerson, you have anything?
I don't think I can want to simply here. We've got the opponents, the fields, and in their letter, they say there should be 133 spaces to account for the suite and the office. And they do in fact so it seems to me that they agree, and we just go ahead and approve it.
that is something.
Is that it?
That's it.
That's it, okay. Jennifer?
I'm in the same wavelength as Don and Emerson about that. I think there's reasonable to assume, as Garrett puts it, that there's sufficient parking here. I just wonder if there's some way to make this overflow parking, the near the maintenance shed, more usable, more practically useful for people. I don't know if it's paved. I live right near there, and I didn't realize that was approved parking. I thought it was maybe employee only. I didn't know anything about it. And so maybe there's some way to facilitate more use of that lot during good weather. Some way to promote something. But otherwise, I'm in favor of approving this. I think we also have to talk about the bicycle parking. Yeah, we need to do that too. So
We need to decide whether it's 1 to 5 or 1 to 10. Okay, anything else?
No.
John?
Thank you. I'm very comfortable with this. I think it's a relatively minor expectation on the part of the owners of the facility to move ahead with this with no additional parking. And I base my lack of concern primarily on what Don said, which is maybe the inverse of lack of concern. I'm concerned about more impervious surfaces in town. We've already got lots of that, and we don't need more. So I don't want to see any more paving done. And there's plenty of parking on Marion. I live on Marion. If people need a couple more spots, they can park, right on the street. It's not really a big deal. I think that this is something we should move forward with without any further continuance.
Okay, thank you. Parking on Marion, I can tell you that for bike riders, that's not a happy thing because there's only one bike lane and it's on the east side. And so when the employees park on the street and you're trying to ride your bike through there, it can be dangerous. And that's what my husband does, and I'm trying to keep him alive, but I looked at it again today. The bike lane and that, I don't, it causes problems when people park along the street and people are coming through there and there's only a bike lane on one side. So sometimes you've got bikes going both directions and this wide or so. Has the restaurant added more capacity? There used to be only stuff upstairs, but now I know there's things going on downstairs too. You didn't have any comments.
It has not expanded since I've been here, which is
Okay.
going on 15 years.
Okay, I just know people think I was on the commission in 2017 and I don't remember this conversation. I remember other conversations, but I don't remember this one. That was my only question, was about the restaurant and how many spaces it takes. And again, if you're on a lovely weekend or your 4th of July or your Goonies or golf tournaments, because I know you have golf events all the time. It really, really gets crowded. And looking at this and hearing what everyone's saying, where do people check in for the hotel?
Just right in the front door on the west side, so coming from Marion.
Okay, but the office is gone, so they go to the front desk, what is it?
So for the Gearhart Hotel, they walk in the front door of the Kelly House, the main building.
Yeah.
Going here, and there's a like a kiosk desk right in the hallway there.
Okay.
So you would turn left to go
Okay.
to the old Gearhart by the Sea office to check in for the condos, but for the hotel, it's right in the hallway there.
Okay,
So right, well, yeah, just past the.
okay,
guess that's
okay,
the
so
lobby, yeah.
that doesn't take an employee? Is that correct? Is there an employee there?
To check people in?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Have we counted the employee in all these numbers?
I think so. George is nodding, so.
Oh, George is nodding, okay.
Yeah. An employee is required, one office manager parking space is required, and that was
Okay.
included in the 2017 calculation already.
Okay.
Yeah.
That probably eliminates one of those 11. If we go ahead with this, my suggestion would be certainly that you look at something to people as they check in, say, this is where you can park. Period. Because obviously you don't want to infringe on the condo people. And even though Don has freely admitted that he is parked all over the place, we don't want to be a community where we have tourists and impacting those that live here. And so that is an important consideration. Okay, so we've heard from everyone. The only thing that we really haven't discussed is bike spaces. If it's considered a commercial, you have to have 2 bike spaces. Oh, no, it says per primary, 1 per 5 vehicle spaces, or 1 per vehicle spaces if it's other use.
10.
1 for 10. I'm sorry, I'm just long day. Is this, what do we think? Is this commercial or other? What do you think, Don? Think it's commercial
I mean,
or other?
I don't know what the difference between those are.
What, Garrett? What's the difference between
Yeah.
commercial and other? That sounds really strange.
So, I mean, yeah, this is a collection of commercial uses, but it's a mixed commercial uses. It's a mix of commercial uses in a location. It's a mix of commercial uses, including golf, where people typically wouldn't bike with their golf clubs. A hotel where, you get people bike to hotels on bike trips, but I guess 1 to 5, the ratio on some level violates my intuitions about how much bike parking is appropriate here, and how much is needed. And it seems like an interpretation that this is mixed commercial classified as other for the purpose of bike parking seems like it could be appropriate. They would probably have they already have 1 rack of 6 bike spaces, and if they had 2 more, that's already tripling the amount that's there on site right now. And then there wouldn't be then there'd only be 3 of those racks instead of 6 sprinkled throughout the property. I think it's reasonable if you want to say that they only need to have 1 to 10 ratio instead of 1 to 5, because it's a mixed commercial. It's a mix of commercial uses, and some of those uses just probably don't get a lot of bikers.
There we go.
That sounds reasonable to me.
I know that a bike rack by like the outdoor dining. So people could kind of put their eyes on the bikes, might be a good idea. Okay, so Garrett has essentially given us some options here. One would be a continuance. Two would be to approve it with the recommended conditions, and those conditions are listed under recommended conditions on page 9, 1 through 6. Or we could deny it. So we have 3 choices. Do I have a motion for any of those 3?
Make a motion that we approve it.
Dawn?
I make a motion to approve the application with the recommended conditions as laid out in the staff report.
Okay, so Dawn has moved that we approve file 25-10CU with the recommended conditions. Do I have a second?
I have a question.
I have to first go this way before we can have a discussion. Second, Jennifer's seconded. Discussion? Yes, Emerson.
Do we need condition 2 because of the cars that we already have planned that shows 133 spots?
Yeah,
Would
they've
we-
submitted that.
And that has been submitted.
Garrett?
Condition 2. Yeah, so they submitted parking plans, and they're in the record. We haven't had anyone. Yeah, they're okay. If you guys are okay with that, then they don't need an additional parking plan.
Okay.
That's okay. And then while I'm talking, I'll just ask that you say if you're going with the staff report and applicant's original proposal that 122 vehicle spaces is the requirement, that would likely then be used as, or an applicant in the future will then request that be the baseline for future consideration.
But if we remove the condition entirely, that won't be in the record.
I would just ask that you either say that 122 is required or 133 is required, or if you don't want to say what's required, then the next conditional use permit that comes in, we'll do a bottom-up count, and there won't be like a baseline established by this decision.
So we have a motion to have the recommended conditions as printed here. Emerson has brought up the problem with 2. And we do not want, my opinion, we don't want to get setting precedent for something down the road because everything is going to be different. So we can either amend the motion to remove number 2, or we can amend the motion to take it to 133, or we can leave it as it is.
Can I clarify something?
You may clarify something, you can't change your motion.
Fair enough. I just thought I heard Garrett say that through this discussion that we would come up with what we thought the number was. And we have obviously landed on 133.
Yes.
So I just presumed that he would change that to 133. So that was my mistake then.
To be up on the top of it, we will. Emerson, would you like to amend Don's motion to 133?
I'd be happy to amend those.
All right, so Emerson wants to amend his motion. Do I have a second to that amendment?
Second.
Eric is second to amend the motion to 133. All those in favor say aye. Wait, oh, sorry.
I have another question.
Oh,
Are we voting on?
Yes.
approve these conditions?
no, we're voting on changing
Just the
that
amendment.
condition.
Gotcha. Okay, I'm good with that.
Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, so you changed it to 133.
Everybody say aye.
Everyone said aye. Was there another issue, Eric?
I just wonder if we have to specify the bike issue in here in the same manner and put a number to it.
No, because the findings in the hearing, we all decided it was other, and that will be the findings in the hearing.
We decided that.
Yes, we did.
Okay,
We all nodded our head.
okay.
Is that okay with you, Aaron?
It's okay with you, it's okay with me.
Okay, oh, okay. I agree, very few people probably ride their bikes with golf,
Yeah.
but I have seen people with the little thing dragging along behind, so.
Just to, may I clarify?
Yes, John. Oh, I'm sorry, I forget you.
Not a
Yes.
problem. I understand I'm very small here.
Yes.
You said that related to the bike finding, you said that it's going to continue to say with no change according to the findings made in the hearing.
Right.
I want to make sure that we have in the record of the hearing that we have recommended 2 additional bike racks of 6 each.
No, what we've recommended is that it's considered other. Therefore, what the other says is 1 place for bike per 10 spaces. So each one of those bike racks holds how many?
6 is what they have on site right now.
6.
Yeah.
So reasonably, if he puts in 2 more, that should take care of it,
I
right?
agree. I just want to make sure that's in the record.
Yes, no. Okay. Are we on the same page, group? On the same page, John?
I still have one concern about number 2.
Okay,
Because we've gone back and forth a little bit. At one point, we said we should remove it entirely, and then we
Right.
said we should clarify that it's 133.
yes,
I would recommend that we just change the language of it to remove any reference to submitting anything and say this,
Okay.
the applicant shall maintain a minimum of 133 vehicle parking spaces.
we have voted on the motion to change it to 133. We amended it.
I understand, and I'd like to recommend another amendment to change the language.
Okay, you may make a motion. I can only take 2. Go ahead.
So I make a motion to modify the language of recommended condition number 2 to the following. The applicant shall maintain a minimum of 133 parking spaces.
Okay, so John has made that amendment. Do I have a second?
Maybe can I ask a question? No.
I don't hear a
I'll
second.
the motion.
You want to second it?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so Erica seconded that. I'm sorry, all right. Okay, so to change the language into the applicant shall maintain 133 vehicle parking spaces. This is not standard practice. You wanted to add something, Jason?
But so 133 spaces is what we showed that we have today. And I was just, maybe I missed something, but I was just confused how that became the number. Because we're throwing out 122 and in 2017 it was 125, and now because we've shown we have that many spaces, that becomes the new must maintain.
Yes.
Can I speak to this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, it's because in 2017, 125 were required, and you're adding 4 bedrooms at 1.5 spaces each, plus square footage for retail. And that's 8 additional spaces, which makes 133.
Okay.
There's a variety of ways to interpret the zoning code, but this is a reasonable way to do it. And it gets you an approval without a variance being required or without a hearing continuance. So that's one way of looking at it. It also assumes that like all the retail space, which I think is reasonable, like there's a bunch of retail space that's not included in that calculation, and it probably shouldn't be, right? Because it's for the pro shop, and it's for people that are already going golfing anyway, or it's for selling T-shirts for people going to the restaurant. They're already going to the restaurant anyway. So there's a variety of ways to interpret it, but this actually seems like a reasonable one, and it's a way to move forward with findings and an approval of the conditional use permit.
Understood, thank you.
Okay,
Yep, no.
all right.
Did you guys say all in favor?
No, we haven't got there. We were in discussion. And I kind of went out, Robert is turning over in his grave. You seconded, Eric? Okay, 'cause Angelina didn't get, but I'm sure it was you. So we have the motion to change the language in number 2, the applicant shall maintain 133 parking spaces.
I think I said a minimum of,
A minimum,
yes.
okay, to maintain a minimum of 100, okay. We've had discussion, we need to vote on that amendment. We've amended it once, this is the amendment of the amendment or something, brother, I'm totally confused. But we can only do this twice.
Second one.
Huh?
This is the second one.
Yeah, well, I know, that's twice. All those in favor say aye. All those opposed say nay. Nay. On the vote against it. All right, so we're back. We're back to our original motion. Have we discussed enough? We have not discussed enough.
Just need to clarify the bike thing again. They need 13.3 spaces. Do we 133 times, 1 for every 10?
Okay,
So do we need to specify that they only, we don't have to tell them we need 3 6-unit bike racks. We just need to say they're going to be in the other category and it's 1 bike space per 10 parking places, and they can do the math, and then they can put in bike parking for 14 bikes.
but we don't need to decide that. We
just need to state it that.
we've already stated it in our discussion
Right.
that we've decided that other is the best category. That it fixed because it's really and think of a retail store, purely a retail store,
Right.
as compared to something that's a hotel,
Right.
golf course, and all of
I get
that.
it.
And so,
Right. You were making comments that they needed 3 bike racks.
that's what Jason had said he was going to have in. And that's why I was figuring 3 times 6 would cover.
But if they have 6 there and he finds a bike rack with 8, he can put that in.
He can do
Of course, got it. But I just wanted to clarify.
We're not gonna be checking. on it.
Okay. Well, you never.
You might check on it.
Somebody else.
I know.
Neighbor complaining about.
My husband will check on it. Okay, so we're back to our original motion. Are we good, guys? Good, okay. All those in favor of the original motion with the amended condition to say aye. Aye. All those
Aye.
opposed? Thank you, John. I'll say nay, opposed, okay. Therefore, it is passed. You have heard our concerns and we hope that you will take those under consideration to control the parking. I think that's always the big issue. And so if you want to leave, now is a good time. I excuse you.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Adios.
Okay.
George, if
Thanks,
you want to
George. Thanks,
leave,
Jared.
you
Thanks,
can
everybody.
leave. Unless you
Thank
want
you.
to stay for- unless you
Oh, I
want to
gotta
stay
go
for
home.
pickleball.
Oh, pickleball. No, I got it.
Don't dare ask for a parking space for pickleball. Okay, thank you. All right, let me figure out where we are. Oh, agenda. Okay, so we have unfinished business pickleball. Garrett, what would you like to say about pickleball?
All right. So we have a 1-page summary of where we've been with pickleball in the last several months and some options on how to move forward based on discussions that Chad and Angelina and I and Jody have had over the last month since our hearing. So just as a reminder, without all the details, we had a hearing on proposed amendments to our zoning ordinance that would have prohibited pickleball throughout most of the city. That was a hearing in October. We got a lot of testimony in opposition to it, and some testimony was highlighted some technical concerns, like definitions, how are you going to enforce this? What is pickleball? What is a pickleball court? Are you sure that you can define that clearly enough? And just concerns about we think this regulation is over the top for Gearhart. We think people should be able to play some pickleball. Some testimony about how we should be able to play pickleball indoors, and that should not be regulated, the same as outdoor pickleball. So y'all asked us to come back with revised zoning amendments that responded to all that testimony that we got. And staff drafted revised amendments. They're not included in your packet. They're revised amendments that would make pickleball a conditional use throughout most of the city, instead of a prohibited use. And, with that, if someone wanted to have a pickleball court, they would apply for a conditional use permit to do that. They're very simple amendments, like just several lines of text. But we had trouble overcoming some issues that were raised in testimony. And that's related to how you actually define pickleball. Some of the testimony identified multiple other paddle or racket sports that have court dimensions that are either identical to or within a few feet of the court dimensions and striping dimensions of pickleball. So, in terms of enforcement, if someone went ahead and said, I'm not going to apply for that permit, I'm just going to go and do this, we would really have trouble saying that it's a pickleball court unless staff went out and started taking videos of people using, playing pickleball on the court. And if you recall back to this summer, we were deciding originally whether we should just use our nuisance noise ordinance or the zoning ordinance to address pickleball noise. And there's some diversity of opinions on that amongst staff. But there's, one of the issues that Chad had raised was it's hard for staff to go out and record decibel noise levels to enforce the nuisance noise ordinance. That's somewhat burdensome. Can we do this through the zoning ordinance? And now we're in a situation where we're having trouble defining pickleball in a way that's specific enough and unique enough where, again, we would again need staff to go out and take recordings to regulate pickleball and enforce it. And so we just wanted to check in with you about whether we want to move forward with this. Another consideration that we have at the staff level discussing with Chad is just that there's a lot of work to do, and we want to keep pickleball in context in terms of its prioritization. So at this time, we as staff can either bring our draft amendments as they are back to the Planning Commission for a hearing. This would be in February at this point. We can spend more time trying to find ways to define pickleball that don't require staff to go out and record people playing pickleball or doing what they're doing on their property, in order to administer and enforce the ordinance, the draft amendments. And then we can, if we find a solution to that, we can let you know later. And a third option is for now to, I guess, would be an indefinite pause or stop on the zoning amendment project. And the expectation that would go along with that option is that staff will be responsive to requests to administer the nuisance noise ordinance and go out and take decibel level recordings when the occasion arises. And so at this point, Our light recommendation is number 3. It's up to you, but this is, after some discussions amongst us and encountering the issues we're encountering with redrafting the amendments, this is what we've come to and wanted to get your input.
All right, thank you, Garrett. Are there comments? John, do you have a comment?
Yeah, I do. I've been thinking about this quite a bit since this first came up when Terry first came to the meetings this summer. And, I've read all the correspondences, of course, have all the commissioners. And I'm getting less and less comfortable with us putting ourselves as arbiters of what you can do with your private property related to activity. I mean, there are certain things, of course, noise ordinances, et cetera, that we properly do require, but, and those are, legal in context. But as far as zoning, I'm feeling less and less comfortable that we should be in the middle of this. And my recommendation would be that we, as I think Garrett phrased it, put an indefinite pause on this. And, this was really with all, I'm sure with all good intentions, this was really one homeowner who came and submitted a concern about a neighbor's property. And I think we've done a lot of work, and, Garrett and Chad and Angelina have done a lot of work that really could be best used, that time could be best used elsewhere.
Okay, thank you, John. Does anyone else, I won't call on you individually, Emerson?
I agree with Garrett and John. I would go with option 3.
Okay, Jennifer?
I do too. At our last hearing, it became clear that we're talking not just about land use, but about activity, and we have no say on activity. And so it became very unclear how to define this, and I'm really glad to see this, and I'm in agreement with Garrett's recommendation.
Okay, thank you. Eric?
Well, it sounds like the city is willing to deal with this on a noise ordinance basis. If there's activity and a neighbor complains, they'll address it. Which gets us kind of back to square one, but if that's how everybody's leaning on, I agree with that.
Don?
I agree.
Okay. So let's do this. Because yes, I'm kind of in the same place. We have one public court. And we have that public court. And so then when we try to regulate private courts, I'm going like, oh, that feels a little awkward. We have the letter from Mr. Price who says they're rarely, and I know other people that are familiar and they say they're there rarely. I think all of us at one point or another in our life had other things that go day and day long, I'm like a barking dog. What I'd like to do is just have someone make a motion to that effect, so we will actually have a vote for the record. And it sounds like we're all in agreement with 3, so if someone can just make a motion and second it, then we will move on. Jennifer?
I move that we adopt option 3 here, stop the pickleball zoning amendment project with the expectation that the staff will be responsive to requests to administer the noise ordinance.
Thank you. Do I have a second?
Second.
Emerson is seconded. The motion is to adopt point 3. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say nay. Okay, Garrett, we have agreed with you. Okay.
All right, thank you.
And we will, if something comes up in the future, we always have that option to go back and revisit this. All right, moving on from there. I have to get up to my front of my notebook. We have no new business. Do we have information discussion? I've never seen that there before. Is that something new?
That's when Garrett has something that you.
Garrett, did you have something you wanted to say? If some of you wanted to leave at this time, that's fine. I understand.
Angelina, was there something that that you wanted me to speak to right now? I think we were done.
No, we're done.
Okay.
That's just on the agenda when he does
Okay.
have.
Oh, just in case he has something. Okay, do we have any concerns for the commission? Yes, Eric.
I just want to thank Garrett for reporting on the beach access and fencing, and signage and that issue. And just ask you to keep us apprised of what Gerhard is doing and where we stand on those things.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
I just have one comment. I think we skipped over our budget.
Yes, John.
I think we skipped over our budget discussion. And we normally do that very briefly, but I would just like to point out that we're still running hot. We're running at about 40% of annual budget versus where we should be at 33% because 1/3 of the year has passed. So we should keep an eye on that. I think last time I've raised this, I was pretty much told, don't worry about it, but it's a budget for a reason, so.
Okay, thank you, John. John, you
I did. Gary, you said next month the DLCD is gonna give a presentation.
We're still trying to figure out if it's like, if it will be January or February, but
Okay.
yes, we're trying to organize that.
I think what I communicated with Jenny and Angelina about the fence is what brought it up, but maybe a proper explanation to the commission and the community about what does an urban growth boundary mean? What does the Palmer line mean? What does the beach build line mean? The no build line, you know, just maybe have that laid out for us, not tonight, but maybe at that DLCD meeting. So we just all are on the same page with that, because I think that'd be good.
okay, got that?
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else? Jody, do you have anything for us? Do we have any questions for Jody?
I just
You're
wanted to tell you,
lucky.
you were a delight and you make me laugh. So thank you for
Oh.
that.
Good. We try to bring joy into people's hearts. All right, it is 8:47. 7:47.
Feel like.
I think it's an airplane, isn't it? We're dismissed.
Hey, Garrett. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks, everybody.
You guys want to hear the noise attenuating